Have you ever noticed how some men get left on read while others always get replies? It's not about what they say. It's not about clever pickup lines or perfect timing. It's about the energy behind the message. Most men text reactively. They overthink every word, wait by their phones, and treat every reply like a lifeline. But a stoic man texts differently. He doesn't text to chase, he texts to communicate. And that shift in energy changes everything. Because when a man texts from a place of self sufficiency instead of neediness, women feel it and they respond. Let's explore the 6 psychological principles that transform how women perceive your texts. First, the Stoic man understands that less is more. Think about this. Most men text paragraphs, they over explain, justify, and fill every silence with words. But a Stoic man keeps it simple 3 sentences, sometimes one. Why? Because brevity signals confidence. When you write less, you communicate something powerful. My time has value, and so does yours. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." The same applies to texting. When you're not desperate to fill space, you show abundance. That 4 word text carries more weight than 4 paragraphs ever could, because scarcity creates intrigue, and intrigue keeps her interested. Second, he never texts seeking validation. Here's where most men fail. They text to get reassurance. Did I say something wrong? Are we okay? Why haven't you replied? Every validation seeking text lowers your value. A stoic man texts with purpose. He shares a thought, makes a plan, adds value, then moves on with his day. Marcus Aurelius said, "You always own the option of having no opinion." You don't need her approval of your text. You don't need instant replies. When she senses you're not waiting anxiously for her response, something shifts. She starts wondering about you instead of you wondering about her. That's psychological leverage. Third, the stoic man controls the pace. Timing isn't about games, it's about self respect. Most men reply instantly every time, they're available at all hours. But a stoic man has a life. When he's working, he's present in his work. When he's training, his phone is silent. He replies when it's natural, not desperate. This isn't manipulation, it's simply living with priority. When you text from this place, she feels it. She realizes your world doesn't stop for her. And paradoxically, that makes her want to be part of your world more, because people value what they can't easily access. Fourth, he never argues or explains through text. Emotion doesn't translate through screens. Yet most men try to resolve conflicts, defend themselves, or prove their point via text. That's a losing battle. A stoic man knows this. When tension arises through text, he doesn't engage. He might say, "Let's talk about this in person," or simply, "I hear you." Then he sets the phone down. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Refusing to argue through text shows emotional mastery. It shows you won't be pulled into chaos. And women never forget the man who stayed calm when she expected a fight. Fifth, she notices the man who doesn't make her his entertainment. Most men text out of boredom, random memes, constant check ins, small talk about nothing. But a stoic man texts with intention. He has things to build, problems to solve, a mission to pursue. His texts are brief because his life is full. When she realizes you're not using her to pass time, her perception shifts. She understands she's not your distraction. She's someone you choose to include when it matters. That distinction changes everything because it positions you as someone who grants access rather than someone who begs for attention. Sixth, the stoic man ends conversations first. This is subtle but powerful. Most men keep texting until she stops responding. They're afraid to end the conversation, afraid she'll forget about them. But a stoic man has boundaries. When the conversation reaches a natural point, he closes it. "Enjoy your evening," or "talk soon." Then he goes silent, not rudely, just confidently. This does something psychological. It leaves her wanting more. It shows you have things to do, and it proves you're not sitting there waiting for her next text. As Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." The freedom to end a conversation is a form of bravery most men never develop. Let's bring it together. The psychology of texting isn't about tricks or tactics, it's about energy. When you text from a place of neediness, she feels it. When you text from a place of self sufficiency, she feels that too. The Stoic man doesn't overthink his text because he's not attached to the outcome. He communicates clearly, lives purposefully, and understands that his value doesn't depend on her reply. He keeps messages brief. He doesn't seek validation. He controls the pace. He refuses to argue. He texts with intention, and he ends conversations first. These aren't manipulation techniques, they're expressions of a centered life. Because an unforgettable texter isn't someone who says perfect things. He's someone whose life is so grounded that his texts are just a small extension of who he already is. Long after the conversation ends, she'll remember the man who didn't need her replies to feel whole. She'll remember the man who texted like someone who belonged to himself first. And that's what makes him impossible to forget. If you found value in this message, give it a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more content on modern dating, Stoic principles, and masculine psychology. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time, stay grounded, stay purposeful, and text like a man who knows his worth.